Yes, good day, and thank you for tuning on to Metric Hub. I'm bringing to you Natural Science Grade 8 revision work. Please note that you need to pass and go to the next level with assurance of your well distinctified performance. So please check here. We just quickly want to go through this revision. I've got a question paper here that I've posted on the body, which is actually a revision piece of work for your preparation of end of year. Take note of it and please don't make any mistakes. Go and get the best. Let me just quickly answer the questions and then we'll discuss as we go. Is Anyway, when you're writing exams, know that you always have to read the instructions. I just omitted many other pages for the interest of time. So question first is saying during the test for starch, a green leaf is placed in boiling alcohol to dash. When we are testing for for starch, a green leaf is placed in boiling alcohol. It is done to extract chlorophyll. Chlorophyll must be removed. So it is removed by putting the leaf in a boiling, in boiling what? In boiling alcohol. So our answer is B. Boiling a leaf in alcohol is to extract chlorophyll, the pigmentation, the green coloring on the leaf. And then which of the following is arranged from largest to the smallest? This is just another nice, interesting question. Which one is arranged from the largest to the smallest? So in other words, they can say in descending order. So in descending order, we can have a biosphere, ecosystem, and biosphere, ecosystem, community, and population, which is the correct order, should be C. So C is the correct order, which is arranged in the from largest to the smallest. It is the biosphere, ecosystem, community, and population. And then we have got that which is showing a food chain below. Start and answer the questions. We have got grassy, we have got locust, we have got frog, and snake. So the question is saying, what does the arrow in the food chain above indicates? The arrows are actually indicating what? They indicate the flow of energy. I'm sure that you remember to say each one feed on the other, but the arrows are indicating the flow of energy. The arrows are indicating the flow of energy, which is the letter C. And then in the food chain shown above, which organism is autotrophy? An autotrophy meaning to say that it can be able to make its own food, which is what? It is the grass. As you can look from the food chain, we are saying grass is the autotrophy, which is D. D represents the grass, which is an autotrophy. And then let's go to the next question. Which of the following causes malaria in humans? Malaria is caused by what? In humans, it is caused by prostate, which is A. Malaria is caused. These are just disease-causing organisms. Malaria is caused by what? It is caused by prostate, which is letter A. And then what is the horizontal arrows on the periodic table called? The horizontal arrows on the periodic table, they are called periods, which is letter D. They are called periods. And then if an atom has 12 protons in the nucleus, then it must also have dash to be neutral. For it to be neutral, if it has got 12 protons, it must also have dash to be neutral, which is number 7. It must also have 12 electrons around the nucleus, which is 12 electrons around the nucleus, which is letter C. When it has got 12 protons, it should also have 12 electrons around the nucleus in order for it to be neutral. So we are saying our answer is what? Is C, number 7. Number 8, which of the following is the property of a solid? Properties, we are talking about characteristics. Which one is the characteristic of solid? It has a defined shape. A solid has a defined shape, which is D. It has got a defined shape. I think you remember the state of matter in this question. You just need to know that we are talking about state of matter, and please note that you need to know that melting is the change in state of a dash. When something is melting, I'm sure you know that it is solid to liquid. When something melts, it is changing from solid to liquid, which is also letter what? Letter D. Letter D, it is melting is the change in state of solid to liquid. Water is different from other substances because it is dash. What is the property of water which makes it different from other substances? It is what? It is less dense as a solid than gas. So we are saying number 9, it is less dense as a solid than a gas. It is less dense as a solid than a gas, which is number sorry. We are saying number 10. Number 10 actually not man. Now we are saying water is different from other substances because it is actually it is because it is less dense as a solid than a liquid, which is B. It is less dense as a solid than a liquid. It is less dense as a solid than a liquid, which is B. I'm sure you are still following, and keep it up for doing that. Give one word for each of the following statements. Write only the word next to the question number. Write only the word next to the question number. Question 1, a subatomic particle with a positive charge, it is called a proton. It is called a proton. And a spontaneous diffusion, the spontaneous diffusion of particles from an area of high concentration to area of lower concentration, we call that diffusion. It is diffusion. And then the amount of mass per unit volume, that is density. Density is mass per unit volume. Density is mass per unit volume. A substance that cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical methods. It is what is an element. An element cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical methods. It's an element. And then number 5, matter that can flow and does not have a specific shape. It is what? It is liquid. It can flow but does not have a specific shape. It is liquid. Let me just write it a little bit clearer than this. Liquid, it is matter that can flow and does not have a specific shape. I'm sure we are still together there. Next question. Okay, sorry. Next question is question 2, which shows the diagram that illustrates apparatus used in an experiment. Apparatus that are used in an experiment. And then question 2.1.1, we have got diagrams that are showing certain experiment and then boiling ethanol, hot water, leaf folded there, and then results. So first question is saying identify the experiment illustrated by the diagram above. What is the experiment illustrated there? It is that to determine if a green leaf will produce starch during photosynthesis. That is question 2.1.1. The answer is that the experiment saying it identified the experiment illustrated in the diagram is to determine if a green plant if a green plant mean a green leaf, sorry, if a green leaf if a green leaf will produce starch, if a green leaf will produce starch during photosynthesis. That is the experiment to determine if a green leaf will produce what? A green leaf will produce starch during photosynthesis. If a green leaf will produce starch during photosynthesis. Next question, write down a hypothesis for this experiment. We are saying a hypothesis is just a guess. It's an answer that you guess towards an investigation. So what we can say there is that a green leaf that was exposed to sunlight will contain starch. Saying a green leaf that was exposed to sunlight will contain starch, or we can also say a green leaf that was not exposed to sunlight will test positive for starch. That's a hypothesis that I can give on this one. Uh, Green leaf that was exposed to sunlight uh, will test positive for starch. It will test positive for starch. That's what I can say. A green leaf that was exposed to sunlight will test positive for starch. And then the other question is saying, identify the independent variable. The independent variable, as you can see, we are saying an investigation was done that are used in the experiment there. So it's to determine if a green leaf will produce starch during photosynthesis. So our independent variable, it is what? It is chlorophyll in the leaf. The chlorophyll in the leaf is the independent variable. The chlorophyll in the leaf, it is what? It is our independent variable. So please understand that this question, I'm going to come back again in the next presentation where I'll be touching and trying to explain more in terms of experimental questions. What is a dependent and independent variable. You understand? So let's just quickly go to the next question. It's saying identify the dependent variable. Dependent is starch that is present in the leaf. Starch present in the leaf is the dependent variable. Starch, starch present in the leaf. Starch present in the leaf is the dependent variable. And then explain what the result of iodine indicates. Uh, Next question. What the is saying what the result of iodine indicates. So the iodine changes from brownish, orange to darky, blue, blacky, which actually which indicates that the leaf or other part of the plant contains what contains starch. That is what the iodine would actually show. So the iodine changes. The iodine it changes. The iodine changes from brownish, orange to darky, orange to darky, and blue blacky. Blue blacky are indicated that which indicated that the leaf or other part of the plant contains starch. The leaf or other part of the leaf contains starch. You understand? So these experimental questions is some of those things that you must always prepare and note that you don't miss them and you get the best out of them. So it is an experimental question that was done. And then in terms of the dependent and independent variable, like I said, take note of them and then you always know that no marks will be lost. Let's go to the uh, ecosystem, the savanna ecosystem, and then we answer the questions that are following. The savanna ecosystem, we have got lions there, we have got the vulture, we have got the leopard, baboon, quite a lot of interactions that are shown here, that are shown there. Our interaction grasshopper, the tree, the mouse, the caracal, the shrub, impala, snake, all these are all shown on our food web, on our ecosystem, which can also be defined also with like to say it's what it's a food web. So the first question is saying, explain in your own words what an ecosystem is. An ecosystem, it actually consists of ecological community that includes all the living organisms, ne? Such as plants and animals together with the non-living, uh, also environments such as the temperature, wind, water, interacting as a system. So in other words, I can just quickly, maybe I can put it on the board that it consists of an ecology, Ecosystem consists of an ecology consists of an consists of an ecological community. It consists of an ecological community that includes all living things. That includes all living things. That includes all living things or organisms uh, together with the non-living organisms together together with non-living together with non-living environment together with non-living environment together with non-living environment, which we can give to say example temperature, weight and water interacting as a system. Interacting as a system. That's what we mean by what? By an ecosystem. It's an ecological community that includes all living organisms together with the non-living environment interacting as a system. That is what we call an ecosystem. And then question next, it is saying, next question, it wants to say, why is it important that animals adapt to why is it important that an animal adapts to its environment? Uh, why is it important for an organism to adapt into its environment? The environment change continuously. Or if organisms do not adapt to these changes, they will become extinct. Uh, we can just say to avoid extinction of various organisms. Because what you need to understand is that the environment changes. So if the organisms do not change, they can become extinct. So adaptation avoid extinction of various organisms. That's what we can say. And 1.3.3, how is the leopard adapted to this environment? How is the leopard adapted to the environment? The leopard adaptation to the environment, we can say that the leopard is camouflaged due to its coloring and spots. One, it blends to the environment. It blends to the environment due to its colors. It blends to the environment due to its colors. And again, this helps it to what? To hide away from its prey. Two, it helps it in hunting. It helps it in hunting. So it can come closer to the prey. You understand? It actually have the coloring that makes it to come closer to its prey. And then the leopard is adapted to run fast over a short distance in order for it to catch its prey. It can run fast over a short distance to catch its prey. Run fast over a short distance to catch its prey. These are various adaptations that we can give. And then again, it is light streamlined body with strong legs. It has a tail for balancing to turn on sharp corners while running or chasing its prey. So what we are saying is that any of those can help you to get the correct answer, to get the correct marks. It can run fast. It has a tail that helps it in balancing. It has got a color that blends or that camouflage with the environment, such that it can chase its prey faster or get closer to it without being noticed. So then it can catch it very fast. Next question. Uh, Balanced ecosystem. There are many impalas than leopards. Explain why this is so. In a balanced ecosystem, there are many impalas than there are many impalas than leopards. Explain why is that so. One, the impalas are primary consumers and use about 90% of the energy they get from the grass, transferring about 10% to the leopards to consume, and then therefore, therefore, they therefore need to be more impalas than leopards in order to make what? In order to make the system balance. So one, impalas are the primary consumers. That is one thing that you must understand. Impalas are primary consumers. They are primary consumers and use about 90% of energy that they get from the grass. And they use about 90% of the energy they get they use about 90% of the energy that they get from the grass, and then they transfer about 10% to the leopards to consume, and transfer about 10% to leopards. So therefore needs to be more impalas than leopards in order to make what? In order to make sure that the leopards are supported in terms of food supply. Impalas must be more to make sure leopards are supported in terms of food. You understand? So what is happening is that the impalas are the primary consumers and they use about 90% of the energy that they get from the grass. Only about 10% that is what they transfer to the what to the leopards. So in order to ensure that they are fully supported in terms of food, there must be also there should be many what impalas. So in that regard, you can also say that the impalas must be many, so therefore the leopards cannot eat all of them, or to avoid extinction of the population of what? To avoid extinction of the population of leopards. Due to field fires, a large number of the shrubs, trees, and grasslands are destroyed. That forms part of the above-mentioned ecosystem. Explain how this destruction will influence the ecosystem. So one thing that you should understand is that we are saying question 3.1.5. Uh, what we are saying is that if shrubs and grass are burned, if vegetation is burnt, if vegetation is burnt, all the animals would suffer. All animals would suffer. All animals would suffer. They they won't be food for primary consumers and they will all die out. This would therefore result in a what? In all the secondary and tertiary consumers being also affected. That is one thing that you should understand. So they won't, they would not be food for all primary consumers. Food for all primary consumers won't be available, resulting in serious problems with secondary and tertiary consumers. That is one thing that is going to happen there. That is what is going to happen with regard to if vegetation is all destroyed. There won't be food for primary consumers. And obviously, in terms of our ecosystem, the the secondary and tertiary consumers won't be able to survive. Their population might also decrease. That would cause even further serious problems in terms of existence and availability of various other animal species in our ecosystems. So the accompanying diagram represents an ecological pyramid of a certain food chain in nature, which later represents the producers. What is the which later represents the producers. What is the main role of the producers in the food chain? So we know, Musa, to say that the food pyramid or the ecological pyramid, it decreases as it goes up because we are talking about the supporting structure. So question is saying which letter represents the producers. Producers are represented by letter D, and then function of producers. The producers are organisms that are able to produce their own what? Their own organic food during photosynthesis. They are organisms able to produce their own food, able to produce their own food uh, during photosynthesis. That is the function of what? That is the function of producers. That is question 3.32. And then question 3.22 is saying why are there usually only few organisms at the top of any ecological pyramid? So this question 3.22, we are saying one, the organisms in each level uh, organisms in each level uh, use most of the energy. They use most of the energy, which we said that I think you remember we said use most of the energy, about 90%, about 90% for their own life processes, with their own life processes. And therefore, what happens that the consumers at the top of a food pyramid is is much they have much less energy available to them, and only few consumers can be supported. That is the reason. At each level, most of the energy is used by what? By organisms at each level. So the consumers at top of the consumers the consumers at the top of a food pyramid at the top of a food pyramid, the consumers at the top of a food pyramid they have less energy, is less there's less energy available for them, available to them, and only a few consumers can be supported. Only a few can be supported. That is what is the conditions that we need to understand in terms of these conditions that we are referring to. So what type of consumers is represented by C? What type of consumers are represented by C? Question 2 point. C, it represents primary consumers. You can say primary. You can say primary consumers. We can also say herbivores, or we can say omnivores. They can be represented by C. As you can see, C is primary consumers, these ones. That is quite true, that you can see that these are animals that feed on vegetation. These are primary consumers, we can say herbivores or omnivores. And then uh, which two letters represent carnivores? Carnivores can be represented by it can be A and B. A and B represent carnivores. This one can be, they can be what? They can be carnivores. So A and B. And which type of organism is not represented in the diagram? Which type of organism is not represented in the diagram? We can maybe just say that we don't have we didn't have decomposers. We can say we don't have decomposers in the diagram there. Decomposers are the ones that we can say they are not represented because we said carnivores is what A and B. We said carnivores can be A and B. So what we are saying is that decomposers cannot are the ones that might not be seen, that might not be represented there. Let me quickly go to question 4. Use the periodic table element provided to write the name of the elements that is non-metallic in group 1. The non-metallic, if you can check from our various from your periodic table, you can know that it is what? It is hydrogen. It is hydrogen, and then is represented by symbol A. This represents it represents sodium, and then has 6 protons in the nucleus of one atom. It is also carbon, and then is a is a noble gas in period 2. This is known as neon, and then is a group is in group 2 period 3 is magnesium. It is magnesium. So periodic table, sometimes it is one of those things that you should just get it right, and you don't lose unnecessary marks. Marius collected some seawater near the beach. The seawater tasted salty and was full of cyan scent. He separated the scent from the seawater using the apparatus shown below. Uh, Using the apparatus that are shown below there. So we need to understand to say what is that? What is that? We can see that Those are the apparatus there, seawater here. And then we have got our funnel, we have got our filtrate, and then we have got salt and water, which is shown there. Apparatus used to separate sand from seawater. We are safe. It's sieving that is taking place there. So the first question is saying, name apparatus labeled M. M, this is a funnel. That is a funnel M there. And then name the method used here to separate the sand from the seawater. It's filtration. I'm sure you know that when water is put in a soil, it filtrates, it infiltrates. So we are saying it is filtering. Filtration is the one that is used here. And then uh, substance L was retained by the filter paper. Give the name of the substance. It is substance L was retained. L, it is what? That L which was retained, it is actually the filtrate. It is the filtrate that is shown there. L is the filtrate, which cannot pass through the filter. I mean, it cannot pass through. And then substances N pass it through the filter paper. Name one ingredient of the substance N 2.2.4. Substance N passed through the filter paper. Name one ingredient of N. N, we can say that we are saying this can be water. It can be water there, or it can be salt. Because even from the statement there, they said that the seawater tasted salty. So we have got the seawater which tasted salty, and we are separating it from what? From sand. So what we are saying is that that can be what? Water or salt. And then number 5, the particle model of matter can be used to represent different substances. The particle can be used to represent different substances, A, B, C, that we are given there. And then the question wants us to say what? Which diagram A, B, C represents a diatomic molecule? Give a reason for your answer. We are saying a diatomic molecule can be represented by what? It can be represented by A because it consists of two atoms. A, it can represent the diatomic because it has what? Two atoms. It has two atoms. It has two atoms. And then the next question is saying, compare three phases of matter in terms of the forces between the particles. Compare the three phases of matter in terms of the forces between the particles. So the forces between particles of solid are strongest. Forces between particles of solids. They are strongest. They are strongest. And then forces between gas particles are the weak. Forces between gas particles. Between gas particles are very weak. They are very weak. While for liquids, the forces between the what? Between the particles are stronger than those of gas. Between liquids are stronger than for gases. They are stronger than for gases, uh, but weaker than for but weaker than solids. That is the comparison. That is the forces. So we are saying the answer for question this 1.5.1 it starts here. Forces between particles of solids are strongest. And then forces between gas particles are very weak. While the forces between liquids are stronger than for gases, but weaker than solids. That is the comparisons that we can give. That's the comparison that we can give. And then question 5.1.3, how many types of molecules are found in C? How many types of molecules are found in C? We have got two types. There are two. We're saying there are two types. There are two types there. Two types. And then which diagram represents particles which with the highest average kinetic energy? Which diagram represents particles with the highest kinetic energy? Explain your answer in terms of the particle model of matter. It is the highest kinetic energy. The highest kinetic energy, we find it in what? We find it in A because spaces between particles of gases is largest. It is A. Gas particles highest kinetic energy, it is A because spaces between gas particles, the space between gas particles, what are the largest. That is the reason, or we can say the forces of what? The forces of attraction is smaller in the smallest, is smaller and is the smallest, and the particles can move what? Can move freely. The particles can move freely there in terms of A, which is gas. And then number five is saying, why does diffusion not take place in B? Why do we not have diffusion in B? Diffusion, there is no diffusion in B because uh, no diffusion in B because of what? It is not because particles in solid do not move around. Because particles in solid, they do not move around. They do not move around. They only vibrate on the same on the spot. They only vibrate on the spot. So what we are saying is that these particles, ne, that means to say that it is impossible. Hence, it is impossible for the particles to move from high concentration to lower concentration, for particles to travel or move from high concentration low concentration. From high concentration reaching to low concentration. That is why we cannot have, there is no diffusion in B because the particles in solid, they do not move around. They only vibrate on the spot. They only vibrate on the spot. So that is why we are saying there is no diffusion there. Hence, it is impossible for what? It is impossible for the particles to travel or move from high concentration region to low concentration region. That is question 45.5. And then Elena set up the apparatus shown below to measure the volume of a steel ball. Study the diagram and answer the questions that follow. We have got those apparatus there, and then we are given the reading measurement there. So steel ball is given there, and then we have the water that is reading diagram A and B. So the first question is saying 5.2.1, give the name of the apparatus which is used to measure the volume of the steel ball. To measure the volume of the steel ball, we are saying the apparatus that is used, it is measuring cylinder. Measuring cylinder. Measuring cylinder is the one that is used there. Measuring cylinder. And then next question is saying when a ball when the steel ball is carefully placed into the apparatus A, the water level increased to show a new volume as shown in B, which is okay. Write down the new reading on for the volume of the water in apparatus B. The new volume, it is actually showing that it is what? It is 60. It is actually 60 centimeters, which is given here. So we are saying the new volume in apparatus B is 60 centimeters, which is shown there straightforward from the measuring cylinder class. And then the next question is saying calculate the volume of the steel ball from the information shown above. Show all your calculation. Calculate the volume of the steel bar from the information shown above. So what you need to do is that we just say final minus what? Final measurement minus initial measurement. Final reading minus initial reading, which is, we are saying 60 centimeters minus 40 centimeters, which is going to give us what? 20 centimeters. As to say, is the volume of the steel ball. Explain why the steel ball drops. Explain why the steel ball drops to the bottom, because it is actually heavy, because of its heavy mass. The mass that cannot float, that it cannot float in the water. It cannot float in the water. That is the reason of this thing. And then question 6 is just showing chemical reaction represented by following diagram. It's a chemical reaction that is shown by a following diagram, which is magnesium plus oxygen. We get magnesium oxide. When magnesium is burnt in the presence of oxygen, we get magnesium oxide that is given there. So the question is saying, write the name of the products of this reaction. It is the obviously this is the what, the products of the reaction, magnesium oxide. Is magnesium oxide. And then describe, the question next is saying describe in which way the atoms in this reaction are the same before and after the reaction. So the same amount of atoms before and after reaction. Describe in which way the atoms in this reaction are the same before and after the reaction. So we are saying we have the same amount of atoms before and after reaction. Same amount of atoms before and after reaction. That's the question. Next question. Next question is saying, let's just finish. Describe in which way the atoms in this reaction differ before and after the reaction. 6, before the reaction. Before reaction, the magnesium atoms were bonded with each other. They were bonded with each other. They were bonded with each other, and all the oxygen atoms were bonded with each other. They were bonded with each other. So after reaction, the magnesium atoms have bonded with what? With oxygen atoms. After reaction, magnesium atoms were bonded with oxygen atoms. That's the story, my classy. And then finally, in which phase does the product occur? Give a reason for your answer visible in the diagram. The last question is saying, in which phase does the product occur? It occurs in what? It occurs in solid phase because particles is close together. You can see that the particles are very close together. So we are saying it is in what? Solid phase. Because we have the particles are very close together. The particles are very close together. That is the reason why we can say that that is the phase. That is the phase. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best in your end of year exams. Keep following and tell friends to tell each other that we have got Metric Abu, where everything is educational. Let's do this, and you'll never have any mistakes in your final metric exams. Distinctions are guaranteed. Just like and share the video. Thank you.